Kingdom Hearts is a weird and wonderful series. After being conceived in an elevator between Square and Disney over 15 years ago, Tetsuya Nomura helmed the series and has turned it into what it is today. For better or for worse, depending who you ask. It marks as one of their cornerstone franchises, spanning several titles, a plethora of merchandise, and sometimes a too dedicated fanbase who defend this crossover with their lives. Ever since Kingdom Hearts 3 has been in the public eye due to its heavy E3 showing as of late, more criticism has come out of the woodwork from about how ridiculous the concept has always been, which is understandable. Seeing Mickey Mouse in his own personalised creepy darkness hoodie talking about the door to darkness could be hard to stomach for some. Now, don't get me wrong, these takes have always existed, but after seeing them in a large quantity due to the spotlight on Kingdom Hearts 3, I thought it would be interesting to throw my hat into the ring and explain the appeal of this series to those who may not just get around the fact about how silly the pure concept is. Let me preface this with, I understand and generally agree with most of the criticisms of the story. The aim of this video isn't to change anyone's mind of how silly Kingdom Hearts is, because it is and always will be ridiculous in both its delivery and execution. However, by explaining of how and why this series appeals to people beyond how can people like this FF and Disney crossover, having Donald Duck standing there is just ridiculous, it may just make those who see the series in a negative light at least understand the appeal, again not changing their minds, but just understanding a little why people like it. Before we dive into the can of worms, which is the story, let's talk about the appeal of Kingdom Hearts as a concept, and the presentation it delivers within most of the titles. One of the appeals of the series comes from that it treats the properties it receives with the utmost respect and care. Maybe not in the cheap abridging of the movie plots, but how it presents the worlds within the game itself. This is a collaborative effort, which has a lot of moving pieces to ensure that it works. The original voice actors are often brought back for their respective Disney roles. This includes Jodie Benson for Ariel, and even Catherine Beaumont, who voiced Alice in the original release of Alice in Wonderland all the way back in 1951, who reprised her role for Kingdom Hearts 2 in 2002. That's crazy. This adds to the authenticity and shows a level of care that could have just been hand-waved away by using sound-alikes. To be fair, the series will use sound-alikes if it must, like with Jack Sparrow, but it will always opt for the original source first and foremost, which is something which can be appreciated about how hard they go in to make this feel like a movie in that sense. I'm going to play a clip here from Kingdom Hearts 1, where the League of Villains are discussing something, and you can see that they got the original Disney voice actors back and it just oozes charm, and it's something they didn't need to do, but seeing all these Disney characters kind of converse with each other from many people's childhood is just a sight to behold.
That little squirt took down that Heartless. Who'd have thought it?
Such is the power of the Keyblade. The child's strength is not his own.
Why don't we turn him into a Heartless? That'll settle things quick enough.
And the brat's friends are the king's lackeys. Slug on the eyes, they're all built rats by the look of them.
You're no prize yourself.
Shut up!
Enough! The Keyblade has chosen him. Will it be he who conquers the darkness? Or will the darkness swallow him? Either way, he could be quite useful.
Presentation is also always top-notch, within how the Disney worlds present themselves in the series. My favourite example is the Timeless River in Kingdom Hearts 2. Based on the Disney shorts of old, the game goes all in with changing the designs of Sora, Donald and Goofy to reflect an old-timey style, even going as far to distort the audio within that world to make it sound tinny, to match the time period. Costume changes can also be seen in Halloween Town, and even form changes such as Sora becoming a merman and becoming a lion in the Lion King world. This helps Sora blend in with the world naturally, and the different gameplay styles which sometimes come with these, whilst not always of a high quality, show that the developers at least cared enough to make each world feel like their respective movie. Sora really feels like he becomes a part of these Disney worlds with these presentation changes, and this has been elevated to an even higher quality in Kingdom Hearts 3, as we can see from the Toy Story world changes, the Monsters Inc. changes, and the Pirates of the Caribbean changes. All these different costumes and making sure they blend in with the respective art styles of the films. It's just something unwarranted you don't really see in this medium that much, especially in a weird Disney and Final Fantasy crossover game. And let's talk about that soundtrack. Yoko Shimura composes the majority of the OST throughout the series, and she does a fantastic job to add to that presentation, to make each track bouncy and fun enough to fit that Disney charm, and with each world having its own map theme and battle theme, again each world. This is another level of detail which didn't need to be done, but in doing so, it fits the tone of each world. Listen to this excerpt from the Alice in Wonderland world, and listen to how much it matches the tone of the movie. They could have just stuck with one battle theme like most JRPGs do, but instead, for opting for each world, each Disney world to have this different style of music, it really adds to the presentation of the whole thing, and I just love it.
Thunder! Come on!
Whilst the combat varies in quality from game to game, overall it oozes high-octane fun and excitement. Whilst Kingdom Hearts may look on the outset a lot of style over substance, when you go under the hood, and especially in Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, the fun, quick and bouncy ARPG combat holds a lot of depth and intricacy. This is true especially in higher difficulties, where the main draw comes from analysing the enemy attack patterns, reacting accordingly, and using everything in your arsenal to overcome your foe. From magic, summons, limits, all of them are viable and necessary if you want to take on some of the hardest and best content that KH2 FM has to offer. Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix is the absolute pinnacle of the series combat-wise, and in my opinion, one of the best ARPG battle systems of all time. Whilst I am not the biggest fan of the combat systems of the other titles in the series, such as Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop Distance, and especially the mission and enemy design of 358 over 2 days, oh boy! All the titles in this series, at least, exude the same fun, bouncy combat system and game design, even if they miss the mark in some cases. I'm looking at you, Days, and the command deck. For casual players, there is still enjoyment to be had in all the games in the series, in the presentation and gameplay department, and them being extremely easy to jump into, gameplay-wise at least. There is always at least some fun to be had. Apart from Days, because that game sucks! Now, let's go on to the story and lore told throughout the series. Before I go into this section, I want to address a misunderstanding between terminology, and that is the difference between complex and complicated. I often feel like even fans of this series may put potential newcomers off due to describing the series story as complicated, which in my opinion, I just think isn't true. Whilst complex and complicated are very similar in their meanings, the difference is that complicated is described as consisting of many interconnecting parts, intricate, whereas complex is just consisting of many interconnecting parts, which matches more so what Kingdom Hearts achieves in its storytelling. I wouldn't say Kingdom Hearts is intricate at all. It's not very detailed because it lays on a lot of its moments and plot beats very thick and clear to the player. It is complex, as the story spans over many games, and originally until the HD collections, on a variety of platforms. The story isn't hard to understand, it's more so that it was hard to follow, due to the volume of releases it has received over the years. If you are a newcomer and scared about not understanding the mess that is Kingdom Hearts, be at ease. If you play each game in release order, you should have a relatively easy time of understanding what is going on, and this is made even easier now with the free HD collections. There is also a level of innocence in the Kingdom Hearts story, which I believe is the appeal, A common criticism I hear is that the series should just be self-aware of how ridiculous the concept is, but I believe it strangely works in the opposite direction. Kingdom Hearts wears its story on its sleeve, and I think a level of self-awareness would take away from this and the Disney charm it's trying to convey. Yes, seeing Mickey Mouse in a black hood and avenging Goofy's supposed death is silly and ridiculous. We know this. By being self-aware, I think it would become cynical, and that isn't what Kingdom Hearts is. It has always operated on emotional storytelling first and foremost, and no matter how ridiculous one may think the concept is and how seriously it takes itself, these emotional beats wouldn't work if Mickey Mouse was nudge nudge winking to the audience, suddenly going, haha, this is silly, right guys? The appeal is seeing Mickey play it straight in his dumb black coat. The appeal is all this mumbo jumbo talk of hearts and darkness, because the story believes in what it's trying to tell so much, and I think that's where it shines the most. Kingdom Hearts may not be the most logically written story, it's not at all really, but it excels at telling emotional beats within its characters, and I don't think this would be possible if all the characters were stopped and were self-aware all of a sudden. Again, not to say that Kingdom Hearts story in some places isn't poorly told, because it is. For example, the plot of Birth by Sleep, it could have been resolved if these characters just stopped and talked to each other for like 5 minutes about what was going on. But by operating on a more emotional level, what happens to these three characters at the end of this game, it still resonates with people. And that's why reveals such as Aquanaut in the latest E3 trailer, to people on the outside, they may think this is ridiculous, but the people who've experienced these characters for years and have seen their plights, this emotional level, it just resonates with a lot of us, even if a logical storytelling isn't there. Is this deserved in a logical storytelling device? Probably not. And whilst this may be a bad thing to some, well, it should be a bad thing in general, the appeal to most is how emotionally resonating KH still is despite this. We want to see these characters have their happy end, and we want to see these characters become saved. I don't think that can be achieved by just reading a plot summary, as many suggest, to get into Kingdom Hearts 3. The appeal is living in these characters' shoes and rooting and caring for them. Reading or watching a text-based summary, I just don't think that would work, and I think that if the series can achieve this, despite the storytelling foibles being all hokey, just to say the least, that is some kind of achievement. Kingdom Hearts also has a Metal Gear Solid, or should I say Metal Gear Mouse, level of lore and speculation. If you're one who likes analysing the finer details and predicting future plot events and actions, then oh boy is this the series for you, and I don't want to open that can of worms right now. To finish this off, I want to drive home the fact that this isn't meant to convince people who just dislike the core concept of Kingdom Hearts to suddenly change their minds, but just to understand the appeal that the series has to many people. The presentation and gameplay is just something you don't really see much, and it wears its Disney influence on its sleeve, and even if it doesn't always meet the mark in the storytelling department, it makes up for it in its emotional beats. We have to remember, this series has been around since 2002, and a lot of people have grown up with these characters and worlds that have been crafted. Despite the series' various flaws in writing and dialogue, and the gameplay, and just overall design in some of the handheld titles, as an overall package, as a series, it oozes an unwarranted charm, which I think is unmatched by anything else in the medium. And that is why we love it. It's a perfect storm of weird. Thanks for watching.